Hello and welcome, fellow Wasteland survivors. I'm Dean. Thanks for stopping in, because in today's video we're going to see how to create these really sweet lamp posts. They're extremely versatile, easy to build, and very useful for all kinds of lighting needs that you might have in your settlement. We're also going to see a couple of different ways how to create them, and a couple of different things or ideas that you might want to use them for. So, without further ado, let's get started. Alright, to start off with, we're going to use some of these junky posts that you can find in the fence section. Now, do keep this in mind. It doesn't matter even if you want to use the picket fence posts. They'll work exactly the same way. You can also use pretty much any style of light that you see fit, regardless if it's wall mounted or ceiling mounted. You just may have to do a little group selecting to get the job done. Alright, now the next thing that we're doing is we're aligning the posts up where we'd like our light posts to be. I've chosen every other board where they're jointed together. Also, I'm making sure that all the posts are facing in the same direction. That way we have the texture of one side of the post always facing inward. This will help later on for aligning up the next posts that are going to go in on top. But you don't have to really worry about getting them that straight. We can adjust them a little later. Alright, now the next thing that we're going to want to do is get into the barn or warehouse section and pull out a half a wall. We're going to use the warehouse half a wall to do this. When we snap it onto the end of our floor, it makes it extremely easy to snap another floor onto the top of it. Then we'll just go ahead and put our half a wall back into the inventory. Now what we're going to need to do is lower the floor down a little bit. And there's a couple of ways that we could do this. We could use the curved concrete walls to raise or lower the floor one floor thickness at a time. But what I've chosen to do for this tip is actually put a concrete pillar beside our curved concrete floor and then group select it and move it down manually. As you can see, we're a little bit above the fence post, and we actually need the floor to be a little under the top of the fence post. So I'll just group select it, move it down, check it. Now we're close, but we still need a little more. Ideally, what you would like to do is have 4 or 5 inches of post sticking out the top. And here it looks like a couple of inches, but I think that'll work and do just fine for us. Now we'll go ahead and add more floors on all the way down to where our light posts are going to be. And then we'll go ahead and get rid of everything, put a stair up or a stair casing. Just makes it easier to get up on top. Now the next thing that I've done is went over to a static building. I've placed in a barn concrete floor so that way I could raise it to the height that I'd like it to be. Snapped some more floors onto it so it's easy to walk around. We're going to make 8 light posts, so I've aligned 8 posts up to the wall. Now what you're going to want to do is make sure that the posts are as close to the wall as you can get them. And as you can see also, the texture of the post is facing forward and all the posts are matching that. And I'm just going to take a second here and make sure every post is as close to the wall as I can possibly get them. If you don't do this, there may be a little bit of offset when we go to place the light on. And yep, there we go. We're getting the last one. Now what we're going to want to do is get out the light that we're going to use. I'm going to choose this wall mounted light. It's pretty cool. It matches the post really good. And as you can see, it actually penetrates the post. And any object that you cannot snap a light to, this tip or technique will work with. And I'm just going to take a second here and just figure out about where I want to put it. And I think what we'll do is as soon as it starts to penetrate out the top, then that's where we'll place it. That way it looks like the post and it doesn't kind of, have a weird look to it where it's too thin or too thick. And then we'll go ahead and do each and every light exactly the same way. And by doing it this way, we can keep every light that we're placing up on the wall exactly the same height or distance. That way when we get finished, they're all nice and even. Okay, now as a quick reminder, remember, you can pretty much use any light that's in the inventory. Even the ceiling mounted lights will work with this. But what you would have to do is snap the ceiling mounted light to a static object, use a concrete pillar or ladder or whatever you would like that would sink into the ground. And then all of these floors that I'm about ready to take up, you would need to place in barn concrete floors. That way you could sink the pillar or whatever object your group's selecting the light with down into the floor. And it makes it super easy to align each one of those lights up by doing that. Now we'll group select the post and the light, and we'll run it over to our build. And unfortunately it's way over here, so I'll do the rest off camera. Now even the way that I've got all these setting here right now actually looks pretty cool. You could use this for a path to your garden or between buildings. The uses for this are really endless. It's just really up to you and your imagination what you'd like to use it for. Now we'll go ahead and regroup select one of the posts and lights, and then we'll bring it over and we're going to set it on top of one of our posts that we've already put in. Now you will want to try to get this as even as you can, but it's more important to make sure the light is straight more than it is the post. If your light's not straight, it may kind of angle inwards or outwards and not really quite look that well. But then once again, you may have a reason to do that to give a certain kind of effect. And the reason that it's not important to really line up the post is because we can actually adjust the bottom post later on if we'd like to. And we'll have to do that because they're not going on exactly straight up here because of the damage or the warpage of the post. And we'll go ahead and align another one up real quick, and we'll do a couple of more before we head off to the next segment. That way you guys can see exactly how this is looking. It's super easy, super simple. It's a little time consuming, but it's not that bad at all. Now, once we've got the last post in, we can go ahead and take our floor completely out. We no longer need the floor to get up on top. We've got all of our upper posts in. And now, just like I said a second ago, we can actually select the bottom post and readjust it to try to fit the top post a little bit better. We're not going to be able to move the top post any because it is group selected with the light. Now the next thing we need to do is get some power to them. And it's pretty simple for the setup that I've got. Depending upon what you're doing, you might need to do this a little differently. But I'm just going to go ahead and pull out every other floor, and we'll put an electrical conduit on it. And we'll connect them all together. Now I did pull this floor out incorrect. The floorboards of the floor are actually running straight to the building. And as you can see, I've got it on the side of the boards, and it's not quite straight. And I did fix that later on. But for our tip that we're seeing, it doesn't really matter. Now we'll take out the next floor, bring it over, we'll put a conduit on it, and we'll connect the two together. I'm sure you guys know quite a bit about how to do this, but if you do have any questions about it, please feel free to ask. I'll be glad to re-explain this a little bit better. So now we'll pull out this next floor, Once again, put another conduit on it and connect everything together. Once we've got all of our floors connected, it's super easy to snap them back in again. Well, I shouldn't say super easy. These, I don't know, whatever they're called, these stilt floors, they are a little bit hard to snap in between each other. But if you work with it a little bit, you'll get them to snap in there just fine. Now, I've chosen to actually put the conduit right in the middle because the aura, or the AOE field of the conduit, is 2 floors or walls in every direction. And since the conduit is right in between the 2 posts, it'll for sure reach each one of the lights individually. And then we'll snap our very first floor in that we started with, and I think here I'm realizing that I got it the wrong way, and I'm like, well, mess on it, we'll fix it later. Now the only thing you have to do is connect your power up to it. You can use a generator if you choose, or connect it to pre-existing power. Okay, now I know what you're thinking. Bones, I'm building in a settlement that doesn't have a static building. There's no way I could make these. Well, actually there is. If your settlement has a static object in it, such as a tree, a rock, a car, anything that's non-scrappable and that you can attach a light to, you can still do this. It is a little bit more work, but you can still get the same effect. And we're going to see a couple of things here other than what we've built already, using the same style of lamp post. I've brought the light over by group selecting it with a pillar, placed it underneath, or on top, of the post, and I've adjusted the post to match the light. Now we'll regroup select the post and the light and bring it over to our other post and adjust it the best we can. Once again, if you don't get it quite straight, don't worry about it. The bottom post is easily moved to align it up really good with the top post. The collision area of all of these fence posts are extremely forgiving. Now, there is an exception with the metal posts. You can do this somewhat, but because they snap together, there is a few issues that you might run into, and you would have to experiment with those. Alright, now the next thing I'd like to show is how to actually power these without a floor to snap conduits to. But we're going to go ahead and do it like maybe we're going to make some path lighting. So we don't really need our post as tall in the air as we've made our other light posts. But we'll want to group select the post and the light and lift it up about as high as an electrical conduit. And there's a reason why, and we'll see that here in a second. Once we've got our conduits up, we can go ahead and connect the wire to them, regroup select the post, the light, and now we will also get the electrical conduit. And now we can sink it into the ground. Because you cannot sink the post into the ground, you're not able to push the conduit into the ground, and we can see that right there. So that's why we're having to regroup select everything to sink it down into the ground. Now there is one thing to keep in mind when doing this, and that is you can put these light posts together as close as you would like, but we are restricted to how far away we can place them from one another because of the wire. If you go farther than 4 floors long, the wire will break. And even if you use the wire glitch to connect the conduits together, once you regroup select the light, the post, and the conduit to sink it into the ground, it will reset the wire and it will break. So the only way to make the light posts farther away from each other than 4 floors is to add an extra electrical conduit somewhere in the middle. Now we're back out at Spectacle Island checking out the final product. We've got them working. We've got some rails from the scaffolding section up. It really looks good. This is the entrance to our cathedral, where we've done quite a few of our electrical tips and tricks at. I've got something very special in mind for this build, and you'll be seeing that shortly in our next up-and-coming community announcements. Alright everybody, thank you for stopping in, hanging out with me. I hope these tips and tricks gave you a lot of great ideas for lighting your settlement. And just like always, until next time, please stay safe and peace.